Hello and welcome to our presentation on Madness in Love.
Something was rotten in the state of Denmark. The king was dead, poisoned by a serpent in his orchard, so it was said, and the poison lingered on. His brother was the new king, and the widowed queen, eager to be married again, was now that brother's wife. But the dead king had left a son, Prince Hamlet, whose heart was eaten up with grief for his dead father.
The theme of madness in love is most evident in Hamlet through the character of Ophelia. She is constantly repressed by her family, as her sexual desire for Hamlet cannot be acted upon, with Laertes warning his sister to protect her flower. This is because in the Shakespearean era, it would have been considered that had Ophelia lost her virginity, she would have been useless to Hamlet in the future, as she would have been a damaged good in the eyes of many.
Polonius also warns his daughter against losing her virginity. He says, "When the blood burns, how prodigal the soul lends, the tongue vows." This warns her against Hamlet's attempts in advancing their relationship, as Polonius feels Hamlet may be speaking carelessly. Polonius portrays a similar attitude towards women in The Winter's Tale, as he believes his wife to be inferior.
At first it is simply an annoyance that Ophelia, as a woman, can do nothing about her love but keep it a secret. However, when Hamlet accidentally kills her father, it drives her into a state of madness, and evidently, psychologically destroys her.
In Act 4, Scene 1, Queen Gertrude tells Laertes that his sister embraced a muddy death, which symbolises how tragic the relationship between Hamlet and Ophelia was, as it never truly ignited.
Ophelia is associated with flower imagery throughout the play. In her first scene she is presented with a violet, and after she goes mad, she sings songs about flowers. The fragile beauty of the flowers represents Ophelia's own fragile beauty, as well as her exquisite doomed innocence.
One of the questions to consider with Hamlet is whether he is truly mad. You would think so, because he believes he has seen his father's ghost and is very obedient and loyal towards him, even though there remains a possibility that it has all been going on in his head. This leads him to perform the ultimate and kill, and arguably only the mentally insane are prepared to commit such a crime.
However, others may argue that because Hamlet tells his friends to hide the true face, this shows it is all just a big act, which would give him an excuse for his actions. I personally feel this view is debatable because as an audience we watch his transformation from normality into madness. However, it depends on how you interpret Hamlet's character, which way you choose to argue.
Key scene, Act 3, Scene 1. To be or not to be.
The meaning of the to be or not to be soliloquy in Shakespeare's Hamlet has been given numerous interpretations, each of which are textually, historically, or otherwise based. In general, while Hamlet's famous to be or not to be soliloquy questions the righteousness of life over death in moral terms, much of the speech's emphasis is on the subject of death, even if in the end he is determined to live and see his revenge through.
Before engaging in the soliloquy itself, however, it is important to consider Hamlet's lines that occur before the passage in question. In the first act of the play, Hamlet curses God for making suicide an immoral option. He states that this too solid flesh would melt, bow and resolve itself into a Jew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter, O God, God.
At this early point in the text, it is clear that Hamlet is weighing the benefits versus drawbacks of ending his own life, but also that he recognises that suicide is a crime in God's eyes and could thus make his afterlife worse than his present situation. In essence, many of Hamlet's thoughts revolve around death.
We are now moving on to The Winter's Tale. King Leontes of Sicilia begs his childhood friend King Polonius of Bohemia to extend his visit to Sicilia. Polonius protests that he has been away from his kingdom for 9 months, But after Leontes' pregnant wife Hermione pleads with him, he relents and agrees to stay a little longer. Leontes, meanwhile, has become possessed with jealousy, convinced that Polonies and Hermione are lovers. He orders his loyal retainer, Camillo, to poison the Bohemian king.
Instead, Camillo warns Polonies of what is afoot, and the two men flee Sicilia immediately. Furious at their escape, Leontes now publicly accuses his wife of infidelity and declares that the child she is bearing must be illegitimate. He throws her in prison over the protest of his nobles and sends to the Oracle of Delphi for what he is sure will be a confirmation of his suspicions.
Meanwhile, the queen gives birth to a girl, and her loyal friend Paulina brings the baby to the king, in the hopes that the sight of the child will soften his heart. He only grows angrier, however, and orders Paulina's husband, Lord Antigonus, to take the child and abandon it in some desolate place.
While Antigonus is gone, the answer comes from Delphi. Hermione and Polonies are innocent, and Leontes will have no heir until his lost daughter is found.
Florizel pretends to be on a diplomatic mission from his father, but his cover is blown when Polonies and Camillo too arrive in Sicilia. What happens next is told to us by a gentleman of the Sicilian court. The shepherd tells everyone his story of how Perdita was found, and Leontes realizes that she is his daughter, leading to general rejoicing. The entire company then goes to Paulina's house in the country, where a statue of Hermione has been recently finished. The sight of his wife's form makes Leontes distraught, but then, to everyone's amazement, the statue comes to life. It is Hermione, restored to life. As the play ends, Paulina and Camillo are engaged, and the whole company celebrates the miracle.
Key scene, Act 1, Scene 2.
Too hot to mingle friendship far as mingling bloods.
Although there's been some suggestion that Leontes and Polonies are a bit competitive, we don't really see this coming, especially given that Hermione is merely entertaining her husband's childhood friend, and Polonies is being nice to his pal's wife. Still, Leontes interprets their behaviour as that of two secret lovers. When Leontes turns to his young son and says, "Mamilius, art thou my boy?" we know that Leontes is questioning whether or not he's the biological father of Mamilius and his unborn child. We also notice that the quality of Leontes' speech is affected by his jealousy. Notice all the pauses in the middle of his lines. This gives his speech a choppy, erratic effect that mirrors his distraught emotional state.
How now, you wanton calf? Art thou my calf? Now that Leontes suspects Hermione of sleeping with Polonies, Leontes continues to wonder if Mamilius is in fact his son, despite the fact that Mamilius looks just like a copy of his dad. This is a pretty strange moment. As Leontes horses around with Mamilius, he keeps one eye on his wife and friend and speaks in veiled terms about being cuckolded. For instance, Leontes puns on the word neat, which means clean. He tells Mamilius they need to be tidy and also cattle with horns. Leontes' name for Mamilius is calf. This is all tinged with sexual meaning. Horns, as we know, are associated with cuckolds, which is exactly what Leontes believes he is.
To say this boy were like me, come, Sir Page, look on me with your welkin eye, sweet villain. Act 1, Scene 2. Leontes is obsessed with the idea that Mamilius might not be his son. He also thinks that Hermione is carrying Polonies' love child, which is why he later has Perdita abandoned in the countryside. Here, Leontes notes that a lot of women have commented that Mamilius and Leontes look alike, but then he insists that most women are also liars. It seems that Leontes' view of women may play a role in his unfounded jealousy.
dispatched to sacred Delphos to Apollo's temple. Though I am satisfied, yet shall the oracle give rest to the minds of others.